The problem is that in this part of Bath we're feeling forgotten. This is the forgotten part of Bath as far as flood defence schemes are concerned. At the moment downstream, quite rightly, Baines are trying to develop all the brownfield sites, and we fully support that. But historically, this part of Bath has been forgotten. It's feasible. The Environment Agency have done feasibility studies, and it's quite feasible to develop to protect this part of Bath from the high floods.
Now, this is a built-up part of the riverbank, so you can't have these sort of flood catchment areas here. So how can you protect this side of Pulteney Bridge?
No, the flood catchment schemes have been now dismissed by the Environment Agency and all experts that have looked at it, because the high flood schemes, the high river flows, they fill up so quickly and become entirely useless. This area, for instance, would fill up in sort of 20 minutes at the high flow rates concerned. So the only way, and the last Atkins report given to Baines in 2010 clearly states that the only way that you can develop, that you can protect this part of town, is by raising the river defences.
Which is what, building a wall?
Pretty much it's as you see through town, which is the sheet piling with a stone capping.
Who is at risk this side of Pulteney Bridge?
This side of Pulteney Bridge, between here and Grosvenor Bridge, you have St John's Road, which contains 115 flats for the elderly, for the vulnerable, and they are all at risk because the flood. They are the first to be flooded. They've been given planning permission in the last 20 years by Baines, and no scheme for their protection from flood has at all been ever put forward by our elected representatives. In fact, Christmas Eve, Bridgemead came within an inch of being flooded, and that was at a very low risk, probably the 1 in 20 return risk. Behind there is, of course, here these houses in Henrietta Road, and then into Henrietta Park, and then the basements all along Great Pulteney Street will, of course, be flooded now. The 1 in 75 risk, and the new 1 in 100 plus 20% for climate change. So a huge area of vulnerable people and historic and Grade 1 listed buildings in Bath.
Now, some might argue that the people who live here, people like you, are able to pay a great deal of money to, are able to spend a great deal of money to buy these sort of houses and live here, that maybe you should contribute yourselves to flood defences. Is that something you think people around here would do?
Well, it's a fair point that people have knowingly bought here. I personally bought here 5 years ago. What's occurred is that now insurance companies are beginning to raise their premiums. I personally had an 80% increase in my house insurance last year, purely because of the refinement of the flood maps. And with climate change being applied, then this is only going to get worse. Many insurance companies now will not quote for insurance, and I spoke to one of our neighbours only the other day who said they'd been refused insurance for their contents, and that was in a block of flats just the other side of the path. I think we do contribute. We contribute through our taxes. At the moment, public money, £5 million of public money is being spent down the river to enable developers may or may not build further down the river. So £5 million of public money can be provided to protect prospective developers who may not even yet exist, and yet existing householders, long-term householders, ratepayers, council taxpayers are being ignored. This is the forgotten part of Bath.
Where do you go from here?
The last few months for me has been a self-education. This is a very arcane subject. We're now beginning to organise ourselves with the residents, and clearly our way forward is through reminding everyone that we're here, and we'll be approaching our elected representatives, Baines, our MPs, the press. This is the start of our campaign.